This is the story of how the most famous French fry on earth went from 4 ingredients to 19, sparked a $10 million lawsuit, and became one of the most chemically engineered foods in the entire fast food industry. McDonald's serves 9 million pounds of fries every single day around the world, and almost nothing about what's actually in them or how they get made matches what most customers picture when they tear open the red carton. Let's start with what's actually inside. Order a large fry in London and the ingredient list reads simply: potatoes, non-hydrogenated rapeseed oil, dextrose, and salt. 4 ingredients, full stop. Add up everything in the American version and you're looking at the potatoes, 4 different oils, natural beef flavor with hydrolyzed wheat and hydrolyzed milk as starting ingredients, dextrose, sodium acid pyrophosphate, salt, plus citric acid, TBHQ, and dimethyl polysoloxane in the oil blend. All counted across both the supplier par fry and the in-restaurant fry, which expands the list to roughly 19 components. Same logo, same red box, supposedly the same product. The fry itself tells a different story. McDonald's posts an official explanation on their own US FAQ page, and it reads, "Every country has a way of doing things a little differently, so there are a few reasons that can influence why our ingredients vary here at home. These can include customer preferences, local regulations and guidelines, and supply chain availability." Translation: some of what ends up in the American fry isn't permitted in the same form anywhere in Europe. A few of those ingredients deserve a closer look. Dimethyl polysoloxane is a silicone-based anti-foaming agent that stops fryer oil from frothing, and the same chemical family shows up in contact lenses, shampoo, and silly putty. The FDA classifies it as generally recognized as safe in trace amounts, while the EU restricts it heavily. TBHQ, short for tertiary butyl hydroquinone, works as a synthetic antioxidant that keeps the oil from going rancid, and federal rules cap it at 0.02% of total fat content. Back in 1999, a World Health Organization evaluation estimated the average American consumed about 90% of the acceptable daily intake of TBHQ from their diet alone, while people on high-fat diets clocked in at roughly 180% of that limit. And then there's the natural beef flavor, which is exactly what it sounds like. That brings us to the history of the oil itself. From 1949 until 1990, McDonald's fries cooked in a blend of 93% beef tallow and 7% cottonseed oil. And that's why anyone who grew up in the 70s or 80s remembers them tasting different. They were different. Julia Child, in a 1995 interview, put it this way: "I thought when they first started out, the French fries were very good, and then the nutritionists got at them, which turned out to be erroneous that beef tallow fat was bad, and they've been kind of limp ever since." The thing that ended the beef tallow era was a single newspaper ad. On April 4th, 1990, an Omaha businessman named Phil Sokoloff, who'd survived a heart attack at age 43 and gone on to found the National Heart Savers Association, ran a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal and more than a dozen other major newspapers. He titled it, "The Poisoning of America," and the ad named McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's directly. Senior Vice President Dick Starman fired back the same day, calling the ad reckless, misleading, and intended to scare rather than inform. But he also conceded that the company had already been testing vegetable oil in 500 restaurants. July 23, 1990 brought the official switch. Beef tallow was out, vegetable oil was in. And to replace the savory taste they'd just thrown away, the company quietly added something to the new oil: natural beef flavor, which they didn't tell anybody about. For roughly a decade after, McDonald's marketed the fries as cooked in 100% vegetable oil for the purpose of reducing cholesterol, and Hindus, vegetarians, vegans, and observant Jews and Muslims around the world ate them on that basis. That changed on May 1st, 2001, when a Seattle attorney named Harish Bharti, himself a vegetarian Hindu Brahmin, filed a class action lawsuit. His personal motivation was simple. He'd taken a visiting Hindu Swami to McDonald's for fries. The case grew into 5 consolidated class action lawsuits filed across 6 cities, with 11 named plaintiffs joining in. By March 2002, McDonald's settled the matter for $10 million, distributed to roughly 24 organizations, with $4,000 going to each of the 11 named plaintiffs, alongside ingredient disclosure reforms and a formal public apology that read, in part, "McDonald's sincerely apologizes to Hindus, vegetarians, and others for failing to provide the kind of information they needed to make informed dietary decisions at our U.S. restaurants." Barty put it this way at the time: 10 years down the road, no one will remember the money, but this apology and disclosure will change the way the food industry treats its customers. The natural beef flavor remains in the American oil today, with hydrolyzed wheat and hydrolyzed milk still listed as starting ingredients. The only difference now is that the company actually discloses it. The next thing McDonald's doesn't really show you is what happens long before the fries ever reach the restaurant. The fries you order are not cut and fried in the store, and that's where most people are wrong. They arrive frozen, already mostly cooked. The process was confirmed by McDonald's own 2014 factory tour video featuring former Mythbusters host Grant Imahara at a J.R. Simplot plant in Idaho. Whole potatoes arrive at the supplier, where they get steam peeled, then shot through a stationary blade grid by a high-pressure water cannon, which produces the cut. From there, they're blanched in hot water to deactivate the enzymes that would turn them gray, sprayed with dextrose to standardize the natural sugar content so every fry browns the same color year-round, and sprayed again with sodium acid pyrophosphate to keep them from graying during freezing. After that comes hot air drying, then a par fry of about 50 seconds in the oil blend that contains the natural beef flavor, and finally, flash freezing, bagging, and shipping. Back at the restaurant, the fries get dropped into the same oil blend for about 3 minutes and salted at the basket. An anonymous Simplot factory worker in a Reddit AMA cited in industry reporting summed it up bluntly: "The fries are cooked at the factory. McDonald's basically reheats them." Which leads to the supply chain almost nobody sees. McDonald's primary frozen fry partnership traces back to a handshake agreement in 1965 between Ray Kroc and J.R. Simplot, the Idaho potato magnate who, during World War II, had supplied roughly a third of the dried potatoes and onions consumed by American troops. Today, the company also sources from McCain Foods of Canada, Lamb Weston of Idaho, Cavendish Farms of Prince Edward Island, and large contract growers like R.D. Offutt Farms in North Dakota. The potato itself is almost always the Russet Burbank, a high-starch, high-solids variety that Kroc personally specified must hold a solids content between 20 and 23%, and he sent field representatives out to suppliers carrying hydrometers to verify it. The catch is that Russet Burbanks happen to be vulnerable to a virus that causes a brown spotting called net necrosis, and processors reject any potatoes that show it. Back in the late 1990s, journalist Michael Pollan, reporting for his book The Botany of Desire, documented that conventional Idaho growers were spraying their fields with a pesticide called methimidofos, sold under the trade name Monitor, to control the aphids that spread the virus. One farmer Pollan interviewed, Steve Forsyth, stayed out of his own fields for 5 days after spraying. Pollan wrote, "Forsyth can't do that. He's part of a food chain, at the far end of which stands a long, perfectly golden McDonald's fry that demands he grow Russet Burbanks and little else." Methimidofos was deregistered for U.S. potato use in 2009 and banned across the European Union in 2008. And McDonald's confirmed to fact-checkers that it has not been used on its potatoes for several years. Then there's the volume. According to a McDonald's report cited in 2024 financial coverage, the company serves about 1.6 billion pounds of finished fries every year, which works out to roughly 3.6 billion fry orders annually, more than burgers and nuggets combined. To produce all of that, McDonald's purchases roughly 3.4 billion pounds of US-grown raw potatoes per year. According to a 2021 free trade analysis, the profit margin on those fries runs between 75 and 90%, significantly higher than the roughly 55% margin on a double cheeseburger. Ray Kroc figured this out early, and in his autobiography, Grinding It Out, he quoted one of his suppliers telling him, "Ray, you know you aren't in the hamburger business at all. You're in the French fry business." There's one more thing most people genuinely don't see coming, which is the famous viral question of why the fries don't rot. McDonald's actually addresses this on their own corporate website with a statement that reads, "In order to decompose, you need certain conditions, specifically moisture. Without sufficient moisture, either in the food itself or the environment, bacteria and mold may not grow, and therefore, decomposition is unlikely." Independent food scientists have confirmed exactly that. Chef J. Kenji Lopez-Alt ran controlled experiments showing that thin McDonald's fries simply dehydrate before they can grow mold because the fry shape, long and thin and high in surface area, works against decomposition. There's a McDonald's meal sitting in Reykjavik, Iceland, purchased on October 30th, 2009, the day the country's last McDonald's closed, that has been on public display ever since, and you can still watch it on a live stream. It's not a preservative miracle, it's just dehydration. In January 2025, the chain Steak 'n Shake announced it was switching back to 100% beef tallow for its fries, completing the transition by the end of February. McDonald's, contacted by Newsweek for comment, did not announce any plans to follow suit. As of this video, McDonald's USA still uses the same canola, corn, soybean, and hydrogenated soybean oil blend with natural beef flavor, the same recipe that has stood in place since trans fats were removed in 2008. So here's where it lands. A McDonald's fry in London is potatoes, oil, dextrose, and salt. A McDonald's fry in the United States is the same potatoes in a 4-oil blend with a beef flavoring that triggered a $10 million lawsuit, an anti-foaming agent, an antioxidant capped by federal law, 2 color stabilizers, and a par fry process that means the fries you watched go into the oil were already cooked when they got there. 9 million pounds of it every day at a profit margin most products in the grocery store will never come close to seeing. That's what McDonald's doesn't show you. Not because it's hidden exactly. Most of it is technically on the website. It's just not on the carton. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.